Quick question. When was the last time running your childcare program actually felt sustainable? Not just surviving, not just getting through the week, sustainable. Welcome to Childcare Conversations. We're hosting a 2-day virtual summit called Building Profitable Childcare Programs Without Burnout or Bailouts, happening February 24th and 25th. This summit is for owners, directors, and early learning leaders who are done carrying everything alone and ready to build programs with strong leadership, solid systems, and real financial stability. Over the next several episodes, you'll hear the kind conversations you'll experience at the summit. Practical, honest, and grounded in real-world leadership. To learn more and register, head to childcareconversations.com and click the summit registration link. Let's dive in. Welcome to Childcare Conversations with Kate and Carrie.
Today, we have an expert on environments on the podcast. So if you've got classrooms that are not functioning the way they should, and you've got a lot of roughhousing and a lot of strife between kids, it's about your environment and how you have it set up. So get ready to take some notes.
Absolutely. So go get those paper and pencil, and we're going to start and have Zlata introduce herself, tell us a little bit about, she is a professor at Texas Women's University. And yes, we do have a lot of Texas folks. So if you are not from Texas and you would like to be on our podcast, go to childcareconversations.com and fill out the Share Your Story form. We would love to have you. And with that, tell us a little bit how you ended up in the field, and then we will dive into what we know is your passion.
Sure. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you all so much for tuning in and listening wherever you are, in whatever time zone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I actually fell in love with working with young children when I was 16 years old. I started out at the Jewish Community Center, which was near my home, and I worked with 2 and 1-year-olds, and really just
Toddler time.
and that's pretty much where they always put you to start. I think it's a hazing process so they can decide if you're good with children or not.
I like that. I don't think of that always as a hazing process. I know because I am not the toddler teacher.
Exactly. So I loved working with young children, and I did move up to the 3s room, and I figured out that was my age range where I really shined and thrived. I love children asking questions and being curious, but I was also really spoiled at the Jewish Community Center. It's a true Reggio program, and their environments are amazing, immaculate, and fabulous. So as I went on through school, I got my psychology degree at SMU, at Southern Methodist University, and I went and got my master's degree in child development at Texas Women's University, and I became a preschool director at 25. And I walked into my first preschool, and I thought to myself, oh, Dorothy, you're not in Kansas anymore, because I truly believe that all preschools were high quality in terms of environment, in terms of curriculum planning. I believed everyone had NACE ratios because I was in a NACE accredited program. And so it was a really big wake-up call for me.
All right, so let's talk about that.
Yes.
So when we talk about environment, how do you define environment?
I define the environment as built environment, which are the physical things in the environment. So the furniture, the materials, the books, all the things that children should be able to easily access and reach.
So what about colors? Like we've heard and we've seen, we've been in enough programs in the last 30 years that you sometimes see all the primary colors and all of the, I'm going to call it cutesy characters from different shows. And then you walk into other programs and it's all earth tones and soothing. And is there a right or wrong? How does that work into even educational philosophy?
Sure. I'm so glad you're asked this question. I just did a presentation on the importance of color at NACE. So here's the thing. In the 80s, you had big fluffy hair, right? And you had all of those. And in Texas, we all have fluffy hair. So let's just know that. But, and you had those loud color outfits, and that was the look of the time. But as we know better and we do research and fashion changes and trends change, we should also be changing. So you wouldn't necessarily wear an 80s outfit today in 2025, right? Unless you're going to a costume party.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And so as we know more about classrooms, as we learn more about color, which colors are calming, what should we do? The loud colors that we have on the walls and on the carpet and in the environment Although I think teachers truly intended to invite children to play and to make it fun for children, they're actually really overstimulating for children who have special needs, who children who have been through trauma. And so we've moved away from that. We have earthy tones. You see a lot of the white furniture, the neutral color furniture, and then you see a lot of like the green walls, the sage, the light blues. The reason is because we want the environment to be common for children. Now, how do you do color right? That was a great question because I truly believe that in those neutral shelves and then on the neutral table and with that calm one color carpet, what you can do is you can have the material be colorful and engaging and speak to the children. So just think about walking into a classroom. If all of the pieces are calming and blend in, like the furniture, the walls, the ceilings, what's on the wall needs to be intentional and it's not overwhelming. And you notice that amazingly bright orange piece of material on that shelf, the child will immediately go to it. So the materials can be colorful and engaging, but the furniture should be soothing and calming. And so that's where we are right now.
Okay,
with
so
color.
Carrie, I know that you and I have had this discussion and we've included occupational therapists in these conversations. How, if you were a teacher or even a director and your director's going, but everything in my building is primary color, how do they make the change? Where do they make the change? How can they start in a way that doesn't freak out an owner's budget?
I mean, so the first classroom I was the boss of. So not the first classroom I worked in, but the first classroom I was the boss of was Pepto-Bismol pink.
Mhm.
And so I asked the director if it was okay if I painted it over the weekend. And she's like, as long as your other teacher in the room is fine with it, sure, you can do it on the weekend. I don't have any budget for paint and I don't have any budget to pay you overtime, but you can do what you want to do. And so I went to the oops shelf at Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever hardware store, and I got m- paint that was mixed incorrectly, that was in a calmer color than Pepto-Bismol pink.
Right.
And so I painted that room on a Friday night and Saturday morning so that most of the aroma was gone by Monday morning. Not all of it. I had a whole thing from my other teachers that were like, "What are you doing?" But that is one of those things that is a very easy first step is paint the walls. Don't go with millennial grayish. Um, you still want it to have some warmth in it, but you can do that. And then another really simple thing, if you have those circa 1990s tables that are that bright blue,
Yeah.
you can get large rolls of contact paper and put a chiller, a less stark color of contact paper on it. Yes, you will have to replace it a couple of times, but it is significantly cheaper than spending another $200 on a new table.
Yeah.
And same thing if your bookshelves, for whatever reason, are neon pink or something like
Yeah.
that, you can paint it. And the hardest thing, I think, is to get teachers to let go of the concept of a circle time rug that has 52 colors and every letter,
Okay. Well,
every number, and every shape.
I'm talking about not freaking out the owners.
Exactly.
And everything else. And I
One
know
piece at a time.
exactly.
Yeah.
You mentioned your first program was a Reggio program. And one of the things that we are always kind of talking to people about is A, do you know your educational philosophy and how does that work into your marketing? And how does marketing work into your actual facility? So if you are a Nana and Papa's, you know, program and people are thinking homey, kind of
Yes.
like, the grandparents
Yeah.
running the program, that's going to be very different than if you
Agreed.
show up at a Montessori
Agreed.
program. How does environment work in those
Yeah.
educational
I'm so glad you asked this question. I get this question all the time. Not all tips and tricks and things that you need to know fit all programs. If you're in an in-home preschool and they're in someone's home, you want it to be cozy and inviting, but you also want it to be organized and accessible to children, and you want it to be educational too, right? There's a balance that you can strike. We're not going to come in and change someone's entire home. I actually worked, and I've as a consultant, I do still. I have a business called Design to Succeed, and I went and worked with an in-home preschool owner who, because we organized we only worked with the things she had. We organized the environment. We set areas up where children could easily pick up what they need, play with it, and clean it up. And we took about 12 hours in one day and transformed her space. It actually increased her program by 3 students. She only had 4 at the time, and then she was up to 7, and her goal was 8. And that increase of 3 was due to the incredibly organized, intentional, amazing environment that she already had, but she just really needed another set of eyes to come in. Think about when you
Well,
have a
I would
home,
like to
same
do the
thing.
math because some people listening might get,
Yes.
okay, it's 3 kids, but for the size of her program, folks listening, if hopefully you gathered that that was a 75%
Correct.
increase. Like, so imagine what would happen in your program if you changed some classrooms
Mhm.
and added 75% more students.
Correct. And that's always the goal for owners and directors is to have the licensing allowance of how many children they can have, but it really truly starts with the environment. And so those changes might seem expensive or cumbersome or take a long time, but if you have a plan in place, it doesn't have to happen overnight. You could have a year plan and you could say, okay, we're going to transform the infant room. And that's what we're focusing on right now.
Or
And then
maybe
the
the room where
toddler.
you have either the biggest behavior
Yes.
issues or, I don't know, maybe the most openings and you'd like to put some
Absolutely.
butts.
Exactly. The place where you want to grow, you should start there. Or the place where there's constantly behavioral
Mhm.
issues, like a lot of that is linked to the environment. So I think it can be overwhelming, but you should break it up and make it a year plan and a strategic plan and slowly do things. And those small changes, I've been to centers where they said, this is where we're starting, but in a year we want to look like this. And we want to, really follow the Reggio or Montessori or Frog Street curriculum or creative curriculum, whether you have a curriculum or an approach, they really want to reflect that in the environment so that when parents come, not only are you telling them about your program, but they're seeing it live in action because the rooms reflect it and the children are happy and they're engaged and they have those amazing things to explore. The other thing someone asked me, well, how often should I rotate my toys? Well, that depends on the children's interest. So there isn't a formula. And unfortunately, people want a formula. They want to know, tell me exactly. I mean, I know in my home, I rotate my daughter's toys every 3 months. That's about the shelf life of how she's interested in some things, but I don't take all the things away. I leave like her magnet tiles that she likes to play with or her unicorns that she's into. And I change out the other things that she's outgrown. Like if she knows her numbers and colors now, then I bring in, some more engaging material that I might have purchased at Lakeshore or Kaplan. I mean, I got to own where I purchase my stuff, right? You know what I mean? So I think that you don't have to throw it all out. You keep the things that children love, but you rotate in things that are exciting in you so they can go, wait, I didn't see that. And children notice those changes. When I did my research, listening to children's voices regarding classroom environment, I asked children, where do you like to play and where do you not like to play? Really simple questions that anyone can do. A teacher can do, a preschool director can do. And you know what the children said? I like to play in the blocks or I like to play in dramatic player and then say, I don't like to play in the science. And that was the most shocking to me. And the reason is because they had the same tired magnifying glass and those, plastic bugs, and it never changed. And so as soon as I gave that feedback to the teachers, I said, here's the feedback from the children. Let's listen to our primary customer, the child. And as soon as I gave it to them and they modified those environments, children immediately noticed it. 3, 4, and 5-year-olds notice those changes. So if we want to keep them engaged and we want them to interact with each other and the room and the materials, then it is on us to make those modifications when they're no longer interested in what we are presenting.
Absolutely. So hopefully if you're listening as a director or owner, you're sharing this episode with the teachers in your classroom because there are some great nuggets here. But Carrie, I'm going to ask you a question specifically
Okay.
from a parent standpoint.
Please.
So what do parents see when they see the environment? So if you're talking about making those changes, you're a parent coming into a program. What do you notice and why does it matter?
So the first thing is if you're changing anything that is in the welcoming area in the classroom, tell the parents ahead of time so that they don't come in and they feel like everything is different and wrong because they had a way that they were signing their kids in the
Correct.
morning and they were putting their kids' stuff away. Or if you had been everybody drops off in the lobby and now they're going to the classroom
Right.
or vice versa. Tell people ahead of time that that's coming. But what parents notice, some of it's at the conscious level and some is at the subconscious level, is does the name of the program match what I'm seeing when I walk in the building? So if the program is called, yeah,
ABC Montessori.
ABC Montessori, and they walk into the building and there's plastic everywhere and there is no writing materials easily
Correct.
available, then they're like, why is this ABC Montessori?
Correct.
It's not wooden. I don't see the pink tower. I don't see the brown stairs. And there's no writing materials out.
Correct.
If it was ABC Reggio and they didn't see writing materials, they'd have that same issue. Like if your program is called ABC whatever, they should walk in and see that kids in every classroom have access to mark making tools. They're not thinking of that consciously. They just kind of go, I don't know. I had a weird feeling about that second program. And here's the thing, most parents aren't touring 5 and 6 programs the way they were even 2 or 3 years ago. They are looking at the online presence of those schools. And so if your website is full of stock photos that were taken at who knows where,
Right.
and it doesn't reflect your community, so the people don't look like the people in your community, and the building doesn't look like your building, then they immediately, if they do pick yours off of what they looked off of social media and your website, and they walk in and it doesn't match, they're not enrolling.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I
you
think
have to match. It has
it
to
has to
match.
match. Well, I'm actually writing a textbook to address this exact problem, matching the theory and the curriculum. So if you follow Reggio, if you follow Montessori, okay, Reggio is Malaguzzi, Maria Montessori actually didn't trademark her name. So that's why we see some of these, what I call fake-assories, which are Montessoris that pretend to be Montessori, but they're not. And part of it is because they just don't know better. They don't know what the Montessori method is or how the environment should look or what the teacher should be doing, and the teachers are guides. So they don't have the knowledge base to really implement it, right? And right.
With Montessori, you've also got early Montessori or
Yes.
late Montessori. I'm an early Montessori.
Yes.
I like the early part of her writing. I do not like the
Yes.
65-year-old Montessori.
But you also have the Montessori programs that serve children on a quality improvement
Yes.
program, and a lot of those states don't know how to give those star ratings to
Montessori
through
programs.
Montessori
Correct.
programs, or they get grants of the curriculum, so they feel like they have to use them because
Yes.
they were given them, even though they don't match. So I have been in really good Montessori programs, but
Same.
when they started accepting additional diversification of their student population and payment method, that the more they were taking government funds and government grants, they thought that they were expected to use all of that. And so all of a sudden
It changes the built environment. And we gave the tease at the beginning, and I don't think we've hit it. So I want to circle back. What are some of the things that people are doing in their built environment that are creating the behavior problems in the classroom?
Yeah, exactly.
What are some of those big ticket not big ticket as far as money, but big ticket as far as change in behaviors?
They have too many things out. Children get overwhelmed. There's research and studies that show that certain children of certain age can only handle 9 items on the shelf, and also groupings that make sense. Like one basket has balls, one has blocks, right?
This is my life. What do you mean, children?
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that, we need to look at the research, and that's what I do. Part of my job is to research built environments and to, give the best and the latest research and science to directors, owners, and teachers. And so we're overwhelming children with too much stuff. It's being done in their homes. It's being done at their schools. So it all matches. They come in and they're like, I don't even know where to look. I don't even know where to begin. And if I'm playing with something, I don't know how to put it back. So a lot of us setting up the intentional environment is to set it up to where kids can clean up. And a question I often get is, how early can children clean up? And my rule is as soon as they can sit up. Because when your child can sit up, you can take their hand, overhand, and take, this ball goes in this basket, and we put it back on the shelf. And this goes here. And so you start that early at 6 months old. And so then it pays dividends when they're 2 and 3. And that's when I have play dates and people over, they're like, how do your children, you have all these amazing materials and everything is organized. How do they just play with 1 or 2 things or 3 and then know where to put it back? Because I simplify the process, and I do the same in my preschool classroom. I simplify the process. If they can't clean up, then that means there's an error in how I set it up. They should be able to take materials out, use them, and clean them up themselves.
Okay, we have to go back to that.
That's a whole separate episode.
Yeah, I think that if the kids in the classroom cannot clean up, then that is an error on the way you have set the room up. Sit with that. Have your teachers sit with that. Have Zlata come and do a Zoom webinar for your staff about this concept. Like, that concept alone would reduce the amount of overwhelm that your teachers are having, reduce your staff turnover, improve their job satisfaction, and save you money because you don't have to have 57 tubs of magnetized.
Correct.
But even take this a step further, because so many people get into this industry because they have children themselves. Imagine doing this at home with all of your children under the age of 18, and a lot of them would probably carry this into their adult life. If all of a sudden they're trained, that means that your home life is a lot more organized. You aren't running into the house every day going, pick up all your stuff. Yeah. And or you have too much stuff. Cause I mean, like we all hear that because they've got grandparents, and then we buy them
Yes.
stuff. And then there's that, collection of whatever they have.
Things they've outgrown that are out. I will tell you, like I do the seasonal cleaning because my children's birthdays fall in August to September and beginning of school, so they get a ton of things then. Then Christmas comes around, they get a ton of things then. Then March comes and we do spring cleaning. Then we're getting ready for summer. So it's always, I know when I clean up, it's always like September, December, March, May. And I have those because I want to see the things that I've outgrown, they've loved, they no longer use. And so teaching my children, I have 11 and a 3-year-old, to actually audit and be intentional with what they have in their space and in their room reduces the anxiety that they feel. And, my house isn't immaculate and clean all day, but we have a rule at the end of the night that you put all your stuff away. Well, they need a system that works where they can put those things away.
Yeah.
Same in the classroom. If the children are there and engaged in center time and they're doing all these wonderful things, sometimes, yeah, we need to leave that tower and we put a sticky on it and say, they're working on this. It's a progress. They'll finish it tomorrow. But then by the end of the week, by Friday, let's break it down and put it back so that when we come back, we can enjoy those items again. So I absolutely do believe that we need to train ourselves and our children not to have a ton of things, but to have the right things and intentional things in our environment.
And I think that the teachers can be doing the same thing with the kids and say, okay, we're going to reset the centers next on Friday. After you leave, we're going to reset the centers. What do you need? What do you want to stay in the block center? Because we're going to be changing out stuff in the block center. So what you guys as a class, and you can do this with toddlers.
Yes.
You can't do it in your infant room.
Well,
but you can do it
0 to 3 show
toddlers
you
up.
by what they gravitate to.
Yeah.
So when I went and did the same type of consulting in Montessori school, in a Reggio school, in a typical school, and again, to your point, follow the curriculum. If you're Frog Street, live the Frog Street. If you're creative, live it. If you use High Scope, live the curriculum. If you say I'm Reggio or Montessori, live it. So it starts with like, do you know your philosophy? Do you understand it? And what does a school that's following your philosophy or curriculum look like that's high quality? And then you emulate that, right? So that's why one size doesn't fit all. But I would definitely say with children, 0 to 3 will show you what they gravitate to. And it was this moment on the playground because I was observing 3 to 6-year-olds in a Montessori. And I was asking the questions. Where do you like to play? And where do you like to play? Where do you not like to play and why? What would you like to see there? What's missing in your school that you have at home that you love to do? Asking those right questions of children. A toddler teacher comes to me, she said, you know what? My children are not verbal, but they show me every day with where they all go and gravitate to and what materials they pull out, what they really enjoy. And then those abandoned centers that you might have, like your science center, or, maybe that writing center that you haven't freshened up or updated. And they will tell you with what they're, even infants, they will crawl to the places that they love the most. So using children's data to inform our practice is at the heart of what we should be doing. And so they can tell us what they want and not want in their environment. And we also match our curriculum, match our philosophy, and we don't need all the stuff. And teachers tend to hoard. I will just be honest about this, hoard things, because there are times when the budget is low and they don't have things. But then your resource room can be organized and have the materials that you need and accessible to everyone. I know so many teachers, when I go and flip a classroom, I open their drawers and there's all this paint and there's no paint in the resource room for other teachers to use. I'm like, and so I ask, like, why are you hoarding the paint? And they're like, well, there have been years when we weren't getting paint. So I think that there's that scarcity in you too, because teachers who are at a center for 5, 10, 15, 20 years have seen times when there wasn't money. And so they tend to hoard things, but having organized label resource spaces where you can go get things you need, papers, paint, Play-Doh is included.
All right, Carrie, what do we want to tell everybody?
I think we want to tell everybody that you need to get the resources that are in the show notes from this show. The built environment is so important, and it is one of our biggest outlays that we make once a year.
Once a year before the school year.
You're making those investments and doing it thoughtfully. And I mean, it can turn your program around. And so I really think use these resources, guys. Use these resources. We're going to try to make sure we keep tabs on these books she's writing. And when they come out, we will have her back on so that you have access to that information as well. So if you enjoyed this show, share it with someone else who needs to know. And we'll talk to you in a few days.
Yes, please do. And I will provide a research article that I wrote on asking pre-K children where they like to play and not. The number one obstacle for teachers was finding the time to set up and clean up. They were doing it either before they clocked in or after they clocked in or on the weekend. And so giving your teachers time to plan the curriculum or lessons and also plan for the environment is something that directors and owners can do that's going to pay great dividends. So I'll share that. And the other article that I'm going to share is how to improve your program over a year. And we start with the environment, and I talk about then focusing on the lesson plan, focusing on your curriculum, right? So sometimes it can be overwhelming when you want to improve your center, or you want things to be better, or you want to grow your enrollment. And I worked with 2 other Texas Rising Star mentors because we're in Texas, and wrote up a plan, a year plan that you can actually have, and have one initiative, one focus per month, so that you can really focus on those items to improve your program, and of course have happier children and families, and have your school be at the numbers that you're wanting it to be.
Absolutely. Guys, you need these resources. Go get them. And we will talk to you in a couple of days.
Thank you guys for having me on. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. We love bringing you real talk and fresh insight from the world of early childhood education. Be sure to follow us on social media to stay connected and catch all of the latest episodes. And if you're planning a conference, training, or special event, Kate and Carrie would love to speak to your audience. You can learn more about their keynote sessions and workshops at kateandcarrie.com. If you learned something today, share the show and leave us a review below. We'll see you next time on Childcare Conversations.